So let's bring back our focus to what we're expecting at 8 o'clock. The President Cyril Ramaphosa to address the nation on the latest pertaining to COVID-19 in South Africa. Let's bring back SABC News political editor Mzwandile Mbeje joining us again in this second hour. Mzwandile, thanks indeed for your time once again. So we spoke a bit earlier on, and there's still quite a lot of speculation taking place right now. But I guess a lot of expectation that the President might tighten somehow.
Well, Griselda, I think it goes without saying that some sort of action needs to be taken, given that the cases are rising. I mean, in the past 4 or 5 days, we've been seeing at least 8,000 per day. And that takes us back to the peak when really the country had to go to lockdown 5. So given that we are faced with that kind of a situation, so the President, of course, having met all the stakeholders and briefed various people, and of course, got advice as well from various premiers and other stakeholders who are key in this. So he will have to do something because if nothing is done, so we are running the risk of overwhelming our hospitals. Already in the Eastern Cape, they are under tremendous pressure. We are seeing what is happening in the Western Cape as well. And of course, Gauteng and KwaZulu-Natal are other provinces that are really driving these infections up. And if these provinces are having these infections, so necessarily it will spread to the entire country. So the President must do something.
When the Health Minister, Dr. Zweli Mkhize, had announced that South Africa had officially entered the second wave, and he was in discussion with MECs to basically know how to deal with this current crisis that we're facing. Intra-provincial travel is one of the key issues, perhaps, that government would probably want to address, because it's not just about the festive season, but what happens in January at the start of a new year when you have everyone returning to their respective places of work. We know quite a number of us are not from the Gauteng province, but this is where we work.
I think that's where, Griselda, where the President will have to strike a very delicate balance.
Right.
Do you want to restrict everything and then suffocate the economy that had already started to rebound somehow? I think the numbers really that appeared last week showed that there are some green shoots, there are some promises that our economy could be on its way back. But now we are faced with this reality. So I think that's why my thinking is that what he may do is that he will restrict those areas or the big gatherings which are really super spreaders, perhaps allow some sort of travel, because I think people do need to somehow take a bit of time off without endangering or without increasing the possibility of this virus. So I don't think the issue of inter-provincial travel would really come into play. But if it does, I guess there would be a delicate way in which he would try to work around.
Mzwandile, one thing that I'd also want to address with you before we let you go, the President having to strike that delicate balance alongside a political fallout with opposition parties. How does all of this also come into play? Because there are political parties who are not happy with the manner in which President Cyril Ramaphosa has handled this pandemic.
Well, if you govern Griselda, a country of 58 million people and with 14 political parties represented in parliament, so it basically tells you that South Africa has got people with a number of varied viewpoints, so we will never go in the same direction. So, and the political parties, they have their own views of how this issue should be handled. For example, the official opposition, the DA, has been saying, well, perhaps drop everything and then let's get back and let people take their own responsibility. On the other hand, you have the EFF, which has been saying you have to be extremely careful because what is happening, in fact, I feel they may say, we told you so, because they basically want to say maybe it's not necessary to rush opening. So you have the governing party, which has the responsibility of taking all interests, not the interest of itself alone or the opposition, even those that it doesn't agree with. It must take those interests into account for the good of the country. So you will have some sort of political fallout, but as long as the president and his executive do that which would benefit the country, I guess everyone at the end of the day will say, well, we don't agree with you, but we understand why you're taking this kind of a decision.
Just about a little over 30 minutes to the president addressing the nation. Thank you very much indeed. SABC News political editor Mzwandile Mbeje.